Okay, everyone. Okay. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to the Dvar Malchus Shir. We are learning Parshas Naso, Tafshin Nun Aleph. A very, very fascinating sikha we're holding. This is part 2. What we learned last week, the shaykhs of the Shabbos after Matan Torah, which is Parshas Naso, to Shavuos. So many things. First, he speaks about that it happened to be that year, that it was still within the 12 days, the beginning of Chodesh Nisan, which is Hashlama, in addition to the idea that Shabbos after Yom Tov is always connected to the Yom Tov, and so on and so forth. In addition to that, he said there's a relationship because of Naso Yisroel, that the name of the parasha is Naso, which means to lift, but lift the head, and lifting a head is through learning Torah. So since we receive the Torah by Matan Torah, so when it's Parshas Naso Yisroel, lifting the head, we get a head lift, like a facelift, we get a head lift through Matan Torah, and it continues on Shabbos after Matan Torah. And we learned that from the lifting of the head, as mentioned last week, we don't want chas v'shalom. We should have a headless body. Chas v'shalom, lifting the head off the body. But when you're lifting the head, the entire body comes along, even the feet. And what that means in our life is that it doesn't only mean on Shavuos that we receive a new infusion of limud haTorah, of new Torah, but it impacts all aspects of a Yid's avodah, regarding the avodah of the heart, which is davening, the avodah of the 613 limbs of Torah and mitzvahs, is all infused with a new energy and a new vitality, which came from Matan Torah. And as we see also in the parasha, because he brought the idea of Nasi, when it says Nasi Yisroel b'nei Gershon gam heim, that not only the b'nei Kahas, which those are the ones who carry the Arayin, which is mentioned in Parshas Bamidbar, but also the b'nei Gershon who carry the Uriyos of Mishkan, the other parts of the Mishkan, which represent the more of the other elements, not just the Arayin, not just the Limud HaTorah, all the other inyanim, also the purification of the world. In any case, he also brought the idea from Pirkei Avos, and okay. Now, the explanation of the matter, the main idea of the Chiddush or the Shaykhs or the main accomplishment of Shabbos Parshas Naso, Shabbos after Shavuos, which again, even though it's relating, we're reading this still, it's Parshas Naso now. This Shabbos is not going to be Shabbos Parshas Naso; it's going to be Shabbos Shavuos this year, and only the week after is going to be Parshas Naso. But the whole Sikha Teichen is Shaykh to Shavuos as well. But it's trying to emphasize be'ikr the Chiddush that comes on Shabbos after, and the Chiddush that comes on Shabbos after is related to the idea of Chiddush. He says, first of all, we have to realize that when it comes to Torah and our yearly acceptance of the Torah, we have to be excited about the Chiddush of it. Because we're not getting an old Torah. Every year it's a new Torah. And by the way, it's something very interesting. This year, Matan Torah is repeating itself for the 3,333rd time. In other words, even though it's 3,332 years after Matan Torah, but the first year the Torah was given was the first. And then the repetition of it, now it's going to be given to us 3,333 times, which the number 3 is a very, very significant number regarding to the giving of Torah. It doesn't say in the Sikh, I'm just emphasizing this. It's an incredible time, because the whole inyan of Matan Torah is the power of 3. Torah is called Shalom, it makes Shalom in the world. It's the power of Olam Tikun, and Tikun is 3. And then the Gemara gives a whole list of we thank the Eibers that he gave us a triple Torah. So the fact that this year it's 3333, in that sense, not the 3,333rd year since Shavuos, but it's going to be the 3,333rd Nesinas HaTorah. That is awesome. Because when you're counting the years, you only count from the following year. That's the first anniversary, and then you have 3,332, second anniversary. But when you're counting the actual giving of the Torah the first time, it's 3,333. So that's awesome. In any case, but when we re-get the Torah, it's not re-getting the same Torah, really getting a new Torah, because we say Noisein HaTorah, because the Eibishter is constantly giving us the Torah. And this idea that there is nice in a Torah, that Hashem is continuously giving the Torah, we learned already last week, could be understood because we see that in creation as well, that Hashem is constantly making the world. God didn't make the world only once, and that was kaputo, that's done, finito rather. The Eibishter continuously, God continuously creates and recreates the creation continuously, and just like it is in the world, it is in the Torah as well, and kolshken v'kal v'chaimer, for sure in the Torah, because the world is created from the Torah. So if the Torah would not be continuously renewed, then the world would not be continuously renewed, because the Torah is the blueprint of the world. So anything that's in the world originates in the Torah. So the newness of the world continuously originates in the newness of the Torah. The Torah is constantly new. Now, even though this is Chachas we learned last week is continuous, but the Iker, this man of this primary renewal we learned is on Shavuos itself. Just like there is a primary renewal day for the world, which is Rosh Hashanah, and from there we get the koyach for renewal the whole year round, all regarding creation. So regarding Torah, the main renewal of Torah is during Shavuos, 48 hours of Shavuos. And what does that do? When we recognize this, when we experience this on Shavuos, it elevates our connection to Torah to a place of pleasure. Because when you read something old, it's a little stale. When you open up a fresh bag of potato chips, it's crunch. The crunchiness, see how stuck I am in potato chips, that I'm talking about the renewal of Torah, and I'm talking about potato chips. Okay, I guess we got to use everything for the service of the Eibishter. So the renewal of Torah is, you have to get the crunch. To get the crunch is that you feel it's the first time you're learning it. That was the first inyan, that it's all a renewal, and therefore you approach it as a new thing. But then the Rebbe added, and this was a gewaltige inyan, that in addition to the renewal of the old, that it's really new because it's being regenerated by God, there's actually chidushim in Torah itself. So what is the chidushim in Torah itself? So he goes into the whole inyan, in which we know that there is and it's Tziv Daled, that even though we know that the Eibishter gave us the Torah, and when Hashem gave us the Torah, He gave us everything, yet there is a concept called Chidushei Torah. Chidushei Torah is novel ideas. What does that mean? It means to expound in the Torah and to find fresh new insights that has not been ever discovered before. That's called the Chidush of Torah. And we've been doing that for thousands of years, and we've been doing that in a really, really impressive way. How the Jewish people have taken to the Torah, how the Jewish people have unlocked the mysteries of the Torah. And over here we really have a quandary, because the sages say on the one hand that every Chiddush of Torah was given to Moshe at Sinai, and then at the same time, so by saying that, they're saying it was already given. On the other hand, they call it a Chiddush of Torah, a novelty. How can it be both novel and at the same time something that is given a long time ago? And the answer to that is, the Rebbe explains that the Eibishter gave the general principles and the methods of learning. So the klolim, the general principles, and then the actual details of it, this is left to us to use based on these methods of analysis and so on and so forth. We can derive and bring out new ideas. So it really is a chiddush, but it's not ultimately a chiddush because the potential was there already. And that is our chiddush. But this is all the preparation for the great and ginormous chiddush, in which it says that Mashiach will come. Mashiach will teach us new Torah that is going to emanate from God Himself. Torah chadasha me'iti teitzei. It's going to emanate from the Eibishter. It's a new Torah. So much is it going to be new that the sages say, as we learned last week, Chazal say in Medrash Kehelas, that the Torah that we're going to learn after Mashiach comes is going to make the Torah that we learned till now look like Hevel. It doesn't even say look like, it says Hevel. It's considered silliness compared to the Torah of Mashiach. mean, even though the Torah that we learn now is enormous, it's brilliant, it's beautiful, it's magnificent, but compared to what we're going to be revealed then, the treasures that are going to be revealed then, this is going to be considered small change. What is the idea behind it? The idea behind it is that those are chidushim that are buried so deep in the Torah. It's a potential, but a potential of a potential. It's hidden so deep that human minds, no matter how brilliant, no matter how great, no matter how sharp, and the greatest of scholars and the geniuses of geniuses, they cannot probe that level of depth and to be able to pump out these chidushim. For that, it's going to take God Himself. Meaning, God is not only the innovator of the Torah itself, the generator of the Torah, but also the teacher of the Torah, the revealer of the Torah. Bisman hazeh, the Torah as we know it today, is a Torah that Hashem generated. Hashem created it, so to speak. Hashem emanated this Torah, but He left it to us to uncover it. He left it to us to reveal it, to teach it, to learn it, to teach it, to discover it. But then there is a level that is beyond discovery. We can't discover it. Obviously, it means it's so essential, it's so embedded in the infinite. It is so infinite, it is so sublime, it is so abstract, it is so beyond human comprehension, human investigation and human research. So the Eibishter will reveal it. And obviously we understand that Chidushim on those levels are beyond. And that's the real Chidush Torah. Now that too was given at Har Sinai. No new Torah. It was given. But when we say Chidush Torah, we mean Chidush on that level. So there's two levels of Chidushim. Chidushim Bisman Hazmeh, Chidushim of Mashiach. Then the Rebbe says, through being that there is going to be a revolutionary Chidush in Torah. In other words, Torah is going to become this Chadish. Torah is going to experience its incredible metamorphosis, a revolution in Torah, which means Chidushim on levels, novelty of Torah on levels that are beyond, that it took God Himself to do it. And therefore, what is that going to be? A new Torah that it's going to be like a metamorphosis. It's going to be a metamorphosis in Torah, to the point that we're going to look at the old Torah and say, what was that? It's going to be so novel. If that's what's going to happen in Torah, that's what's going to happen in creation as well. And that's why the Navi tells us of a Shamayim HaChadash, of a Eretz HaChadash Asher Ani Oiseh, a new heaven and a new earth that God is going to make, that Hashem is going to make in the future. And that is derived from the Chidush in Torah. That is the synopsis of what we learned last week. If you think about this, this is Gavaldik. This is, when I approach it a second week and I'm learning it a second time, it is always richer than the first time. It's finally like marinated. Even though I wasn't consciously thinking about this, I can admit, or rather I should say I can confess, I didn't give this much thought during the week, but just the fact that it was marinating in the back of my mind somewhere, in my subconscious, it's so much richer now, just this idea like this. It's really all about the exploration and the uncovering of this document, of this ancient document of the Torah that renews all of existence and generates newness in the world. And as I mentioned in the future, that newness, I mentioned in the future, it doesn't make any sense. As I mentioned I'm a little tired. As I mentioned last week, that this future world, even though the Rebbe doesn't say it explicitly, probably means great. When we see new in the world, even though primarily it means we're going to see the divinity in the world, but obviously it comes along with incredible innovation in science. Well, science is going to be the divine. What is the science? Science wants to find the nature of existence. And the more we probe deeper, obviously the more treasures we find, the more potential we find. But as far as the scientists have probed, they haven't at least not admitted that they've discovered the divine aspect. Maybe they're there already, they're just not identifying it as that. And maybe they're already identifying it, it's just not calling it, they're calling it the singular source or whatever. And I'm not a scientist, I'm not, and I haven't. But imagine the deeper they'll probe this, the more the godly they'll reach And obviously the more potential there will be to go beyond time and space within time and space. In any case, all right, and that's what we learned till now. Now in Sif Hey, we started this already last week, but we're going to go over just because I didn't finish it, and then from there we're going to continue. It's Gavaldig Inyanim. So the Rebbe says this will also explain what the sages say. If you give over something in the name of the person who said the Chiddush, because we're talking, the whole idea over here is Chiddush Torah. We have to be Machadish in Torah. We have to be influencers in Torah or innovators in Torah. So when we speak about innovation in Torah, there is so if anybody that does that says a chiddush, and then someone else gives over this novel idea and gives credit to the person who is the innovator of it, that person who gives it over in the name of the other individual is bringing redemption to the world. Just give me 1 second. To understand this idea of why, if you innovate in Torah, you're bringing redemption to the world. So it's interesting. Chazal are not saying if you innovate in Torah, you're bringing redemption to the world. Chazal are saying that if you give credit to the innovator, that's when you're bringing redemption to the world. I don't see in the Sikha, however, the Rebbe seems to be explaining the concept relating more to the innovator, the one who innovated an idea. And in other words, by the very notion of innovating a new concept, that itself brings redemption to the world. And where do we know this from? We know it from Mordechai and Esther, because Esther gave over to Achashverosh. There it wasn't a Chiddush in Torah. There it was just she gave over in the name of the one who said it. That Mordechai listened and overheard the plot from Bigsan and Seresh to kill Achashverosh, and she gave it over in the name of Mordechai. And then later, this is what brought the redemption for the Jewish people when when Haman came to threaten or to ask Achashverosh to kill Mordechai. So Mordechai, the whole thing turned around, right? So you see, it came redemption to the world. Now, what does one have to do with the other? What's the relationship? What does it mean, redemption to the world? Redemption to the world means, remember that this goes back to the main sichos we were learning earlier. Remember we were learning that the whole inyan of redemption is to discover the godliness that's within the creation. The aleph that's in the galus. The world conceals and blocks its true nature, its true divinity. And the whole idea of redemption is not to go to a new world, but to uncover the gold that's within this world, to uncover the divinity that's here, to uncover the true beauty that there is in a human being, the true capacity, true divine qualities that are in each and every one of us. That's Geula, to bring out the richness of every facet of this world, the magnificence of every element. So really, it's the budding and the blossoming of all of existence to its fullest potential. That's what Geula is going to be, including the artist who made it all. That too will be spoken. But obviously, the qualities of everything. So unleashing, revealing. Now, as we said before, the Torah is the source of creation, the blueprint of creation. So the more you can reveal in Torah, extrapolate and reveal. So when Torah remains unrevealed, when all the unbelievable depth and brilliance of every syllable and every nuance of Torah is not seen, and when you read it as a dry story and you don't see all the magnificent depth and light and all that, then the Torah is in exile. It's trapped. It's light, the light of the Torah, the beauty, the unbelievable brilliance and infinite infinite holiness and godliness and every treasures that are in the Torah is locked in jail. It's locked in prison. It's blocked. So when someone comes and uncovers it, reads the pasuk, finds certain, you read the simple, then you realize there's certain discrepancies. You ask a question, and you're back and forth. You think about it for a long time, and then suddenly you realize, hey, the pasuk is saying something that might be a little different than what you initially thought. And you uncovered this magnificent, beautiful idea of what it's really saying. So you've unleashed and unlocked the depth, or one of the facets of this godly Torah. If it's true, then it's godly. It's a godly idea that you've unlocked. Now, by unlocking that, you cause the world as well to unlock its godliness. And that's the meaning of Mevi Geula La'olam, brings redemption to the world. However, we learned last week, this was the last idea, that the unlocking that we've done, where do we learn it from? We learned it from Mordechai and Esther. Now, the redemption then was only a partial redemption, because the Jewish people still remained in the exile. So we explained the reason is because no matter how much unlocking we unlock, when we do it, as we spoke earlier, it's only a partial revelation. Because the real and the bulk of the light of the Torah, only God will be able to reveal. It will take a divine mind, not a human mind, to do that. So therefore, even when we unlock and reveal, since we're only doing partially, the geula that comes as a result of that is only a partial geula. That meaning to say that only some of the godly light in the world is revealed. That is, within nature, in creation is revealed. Now that's not Mashiach. That means there's still concealment in the world. Why? Because there's still concealment in Torah. But once Hashem is going to get involved, and that's by the time of Mashiach, and Hashem is going to pump all the light out of the Torah, all the potential out is going to come to revelation. So that's going to bring about that what? That all the secrets of creation are going to come pouring out. So it's not going to be any more olam. It's not going to be any more helam v'hester. It's not going to be any more concealment. Olam means from the word concealment. Helam, concealment. No more concealment. So the world, so the Aleph, as we spoke earlier, the Aleph is going to be fully revealed in Goyla. It's going to be Geula. Maybe Geula li'aylam. We'll bring Geula to the world. Fantastic. So it's the importance of having to learn of novel ideas. And here's the Knesset we were holding Be'ikr last week. I'm sorry, I spent a little time on the Chazara. And the Rebbe continues over here. This is in the middle of Sifhei, V'oid ve'ikr. This is a very important idea. That the chidush, the novelty that we're going to bring out, the main geula that's going to come, as we say, which is going to come as a result of what has been hidden, moves out into the open, is not that we're going to just find the godliness of the world that we're in right now, but that we're going to experience the world as a shamayim va'aretz hachadasha, as a new heaven and a new earth. What do we mean? We've been emphasizing so much that Geula is not a new world. Geula is the same world like we had. It's just uncovering the godliness that's within it. That's what we learned in all the earlier shiurim, Parshas Emor, Dvar Malchus. But then, if you remember, the Rebbe asked the question, there is going to be such greater Giluyim, there is going to be deeper and deeper, remember? And those things seem to be more than just the Aleph of Goyla. Remember that? That was the question. It's more than the godliness of the creation. So why is that called Geula? So if you remember, the Rebbe said then that in the word Aleph, there's 3 dimensions to the Aleph. There's Aleph, that means Alufei Shel Olam. There is Aleph, that means Alefcha, I will teach you. And there's the ultimate Aleph, which is the Lashon Pele. Pele means wonder, which is the Gilui of the essence of God himself. And that too is going to be Nizgala in the world. And that's what we discussed then. Same idea. Mamash, you can see parallel. This is a few weeks later. Same idea that Rebbe is uncovering over here. Is the world going to be the same world, or is the world not going to be the same world? Now remember one thing. When we say Shamayim HaChadashim v'Aretz HaChadasha, Asher Ani Oisei, that doesn't mean that the world is going to disintegrate. We're going to have new heaven, new earth. It's the same heaven and the same earth, but it's going to be so metamorphosized, as we're going to see why in a moment, that it's going to appear to be completely new. Similar to when we say Torah Chadasha. When the Torah Chadasha me'iti teitze, is that a new Torah? Zoysa Torah lo yisei mechlefes, the same Torah, the Aseres HaDibros, the same Aseres HaDibros, the same 10 Commandments, the same Torah, there's no new Torah. But yet, when we're going to read it, we're going to say the old Torah was considered silly. It's like totally new, like we never learned before. It's like, wow, this is what it really Bereshis means. This is what bara means. Every word is like, it's going to blow our minds. Literally, we're not going to know what to do with ourselves. And we have to realize the reality of this, of how stimulating and engaging and how exciting this is going to be. Rambam says that all of humanity are going to drop all their occupation and just pursue this. That's it. Forever. We can imagine how stimulating and how enlightening and pleasurable this is going to be. If this is going to become the pursuit of every human being on the planet, willfully, no one is going to compel them. That's in Torah. Why? Why is suddenly Torah going to have such an upgrade? Because what did we say? Because all the novel ideas that we extrapolate of Torah today, as we spoke earlier, are all what are humanly possible to create, to extrapolate. So they're great ideas, but they're all what we might call amateur ideas. When God is going to start teaching, when Hashem is going to start saying Gematria, when Hashem is going to start giving us the brilliant insights that there is within the Torah, but God is going to start pointing them out, we understand that it's going to be a quantum leap in the level of these ideas, of the brightness of these ideas. Like you're sitting in a classroom, you have various different teachers, and suddenly the teacher leaves, and God himself sits down and starts teaching. That's the idea. That's what we're talking about. So there's no comparison. There's no... So just like this is in Torah, this is also going to bring Geula in the world as well, that we're not just going to experience the godliness of our current world, but something is going to click, something is going to be revealed, some chiddush is going to be extrapolated in the world from such a deep place, and it's going to be revealed in creation. What is that? So here's a very, very important idea. There is the divine life force that Hashem emitted to create the world. And that is the 10 utterances, which the 10 utterances are, endless in terms of their capacity and their ability, and they themselves, the 10 utterances, as we learn in Tanya, have to go through major screening and filtering and screening and filtering, tzimtzuma, until it comes down and it creates the physical universe, all the way to our reality. Right? And in general, that's called Mamala Kalalman, the indwelling light of God that is within creation. Now that energy and that life force in creation is concealed from the creation. It's hidden. We don't experience it. We don't know it. By learning, and again, as we said earlier, through the exercise of making discoveries in Torah, by extrapolating the chidushim in Torah, it enables us to start extrapolating the godliness that's within the world. Well, which level of godliness? Mamalak Alman. Mamalak Alman means the inner divine energy that composes and makes up the characteristics and the nature of every element within creation. So, for instance, for those who study a little Kabbalah and Chassidus, when we talk about all the various different sphirot and all the various different names of God, configurations, and what they mean, and all the levels, and we explore them, we understand them, and hopefully it's possible for us to get some kind of in a vague, maybe only vague, but we do get an idea. And obviously this is what all of the study of Kabbalah and Chassidus consists of, is to get to know the nature of the divine. Now we understand that the nature of the divine energy that's in a peanut is different than the nature of the divine energy that's in an apple. And that's why the peanut tastes so different and its texture is so different than an apple. And an apple is so different than the peanut, and so on, each creature and each being. And that's because the godliness, so you can see the creation and enjoy just the external, or you can be a deeper person and get to see the godly elements of each creature and of each being. Now, so again, how do we get that? And that's humanly possible to perceive, just like the chidushei Torah that are humanly possible to extrapolate. But then there is an infinitely and endlessly, and these words are not even good words to use, higher dimension, which is within creation, or I shouldn't say within creation, which is responsible for creation, but yet has never been tapped and cannot be known. And that is what we're talking about. That's the ultimate chiddush. And when we say the new heaven and the new earth that we're going to experience only when Mashiach comes, it's the same heaven and the same earth, but it's going to expose that dimension. And what is that? That's the next words in the pasuk. Asher ani oisei, that I am making. And the emphasis on the word I. When God says I, it means his very being. All this light and energy that we spoke about before is all the Eibishter's creative energy. It's all his talents. It's not his very self. But then Chassidus says an interesting thing. Was God's very self involved in creation? Is that in any way present? Is that connected to the creation? On the one hand, generally Chassidus tells us, no, only the external of God's breath was involved in creation. He himself is not phased, he's not impacted, it's a no event as if never happened yet. That's true on all levels, until we get to the final stage of creation, which is the most physical element of creation. The physical element of creation can only come into existence. I'm saying, when we say the physical element, we mean the last tier of existence, which is when powerful energies and ideas become stuff, become things. Because we learn creation evolves from ideas, from concepts, and that's how it evolves from spiritual state of existence to a physical, brute existence. Now, the physical is the silliest form of existence. It has no content other than it's just stuff. What stuff? It's a lie. It's much richer when it is in its content, when it's an idea. So this is like the most insignificant, the lowest, the most coarse and coarse level of existence. Yet this holds the deepest secret, because the dafka, the coarse physicality of the world, for it to be coarse, what's its coarseness all about? What's the definition of its coarseness? Definition of its coarseness is that it denies the basic notion that everybody knows. You can't make yourself. You come from somewhere. Da me'ayin basa. No, you come from somewhere. I mean, unless you are God himself, everything else feels it comes from somewhere. And the last stage of existence, the material physical world, is its coarseness is that it only knows itself. It denies everything else. It claims, I am, without any source. And that is such a ridiculous, blatant ignorance and arrogance, and like how chutzpah, that something that has no existence even for a half a millimeter of a second. It has nothing, and yet it can claim beingness, unbashfully claim beingness, and really feel it, and really believe it. That's the material, that's the physical. So Chassidus says, to be such a liar, and to be so adamant about that lie, that idea, to feel that, that only God can make. Why? Because God himself, whose existence, because would you even get such an idea existing without, not coming from anywhere? That idea comes from God's essence. Only God himself, and when we say God, we mean God's very quintessence. Everything else is already an expression, comes from somewhere. He's expressing. It's light, it's emanation, it's because who he is, he can be anything or empower anything or emanate any potential, any ability, any talent, but these are all already something. But then there is the very bare bones, if you can say, on God, the very bare bones of God. That just is. And that we say, like, you can't ask, where did he come from? He just is, because he is. And that's what the physical is imitating. And how does the physical get such an idea? Because God's very self is imparting that into the physical, because the very essence of God is somehow, I'm going to see the word engaged or involved or present in that last final skin element of existence, outer skin of existence, outer crust of crust, which is the physical. Beyond the physical is millions and millions of abstract spiritual levels, but the physical, in its most core state, that's where you can connect. It's the biggest denier of God, and it's the closest to God. That's why, by the way, this is one of the brilliant innovations of the Alter Rebbe, that he discovered this. Talk about Chiddush. And the Alter Rebbe says that that's the reason why Judaism is so obsessed with the physical. No other religion. Judaism is so obsessed with just physical actions, because it's only in the physical action that you're touching that dimension, and you can access God himself. Now, that dimension, I can't even call it dimension, that's which is beyond all, it's even beyond the infinite light. It's just the Eibishter himself, God himself, which is responsible for the physical world. But you can't say that this is expressed in any of the features or any of the characteristics of the physical, of whatever the physical object is. If it's an apple, it's not expressed in the definitions of what an apple is or what an orange is. It's only that the fact that the thing can claim its beingness is a masquerade, so to speak, is a distortion of God's very essence. So the way the Rebbe says it, God is responsible but for it and related to this physical existence, but in the most distant and, let's put it this way. If an apple is sweet, it's a sweet apple, or a sweet, what is a sweet? A sweet date. A date is a sweet fruit. So, why is the date sweet? Because obviously it's chemistry that God made it to be, is its sweetness. But we know that the sweetness doesn't begin in the physical realm. Mentioned everything. Everything starts off as spiritual ideas, concepts, beings. So the sweetness of the date, if you trace it back, is to one of the characteristics of God, chesed, kindness. And that kindness, and obviously the sweetness of the date is different than the sweetness of sugar, but that particular sweetness is representing one of the nuances of God's sweetness. That sweetness is through a process of a million filters and contractions and so on and so forth, lowers itself down to express itself in the sweetness of the date. So the content of the divine sweetness is close to the date. It's being revealed and expressed in what the date is. In other words, the reason why the date, you're going to say, is a creature of chesed. I didn't see this, that a date is chesed. I'm just assuming that, because the date is sweet and chesed is sweetness. So don't quote me on that I said the date is chesed, but I'm just giving that idea. The sweetness of the date, and we say the date is chesed, that is an indication that that there is a closeness between the divine chesed and the date. But God's omnipotent power, God's very being, and that's in the sweetness. Now, if you're taking an apple, and the apple is tart, and it has a sourness to it, so the sourness of the apple, if you trace it back to its roots, is from one of Hashem's midas of gevura. So it's Hashem's tartness, if you can say, his gevura, that later translates in this sourness that the apple has. So these are what we call mamala kalam. These are all features of the divine energy, of the divine potential, of God's creativity. But how about the very physicality of the apple, which has no content other than it's a liar, that it exists, and it's not an expression of God? That element comes from what? From Hashem's very, very, very atzmos. Is that close to the apple? Is that being expressed? When you're feeling the apple, you're feeling God's substance? No. Quite on the contrary, the apple is making you forget about God. It's an imposter. It's grabbing God's absoluteness and claiming it to itself. So it's that power, even though it's impacting it, because if that would not be a reality in God, it couldn't show up in in the apple, but it's not expressed in the apple. It's in a state of separation and removed from the apple. And again, that's equal in all of physicality, but it's not in it, it's outside of it. And that's why, as much as we explore the creation and investigate it and research it, and we want to extrapolate this, we will never come to the experience of this godliness, because it's not deducible from the creation. This chidush is going to take God to reveal. That's why this is what the Eber Hashamayim Achadasha Asher Ani Oisei. Now the truth is, that's the world it's already now. In truth, the world is always now Ani Oisei. But that the fact that we can see in the Shamayim of Haaretz, that we can see in heaven and earth, the Ani Oisei, the very, very substance of God, can see that would be discernible and experienceable from within the physical world. And that we will stop seeing the physical world as the physical world. We will see it as nothing other than the camouflage of God's very, very essence. And at that point, it's not camouflaging anymore. It's revealing of it. That's already a new heaven and a new earth. And obviously, once we uncover that potential in the physical, that is a potential that is, or a power that is not just infinite, it's unmeasurable and whatever kind of word you can possibly think of to higher and deeper, and the power and the energy is because this is God himself, as opposed to all the other sweetness and sharpness and chesed and gevura and teferes and netzach and yisod and all cool stuff. These are all emanations, expressions, and not the essence. When the essence will be revealed, that's the chidush of the Shemayim, and that's the real geula. When we will finally tap that, then we have all the godliness, so to speak, within the world revealed. So how do we know that will ever be revealed? Well, the pasuk says, "Shemayim achadosh asher ani oiseh." We will see the ani oiseh, the eye that's making, the very eye of God. But also from the idea that we know that the world is going to be a dira, a home for God. What does a home mean? If we say our physical world is a home for Hashem, means it won't just be a project like it is a piece of his art, a construction that he constructed, something that he made, his craftsmanship. No, it's his home. Home means that he lives there. Living somewhere means you're there completely. You're there, not just your talents are expressed there. That's in your studio, you express your talents. In your bedroom, you live. Once this world becomes the bedroom of God, and the Rebbe says deeper than that, when a person lives somewhere, it means that he's not camouflaging, he's not hiding. If you visit someone in their home, you'll get to see them as they truly are. And if they don't know in your home that you're in their house, if you're watching them, they might be a little... If they don't know, then you'll get to see them as they truly, truly are, and sometimes even without their clothing, meaning the person is not covering their true being. You'll get to see. It's like, we're always embarrassed if, people get to see us as we are in our home, because we're at our home, we let loose. We're not controlled. And the way we truly are is not always the way we always want to be perceived. Might not be bad, might just be a little too intense for people to handle. When we say God's home in this world, means that the very, very God himself will be revealed in this world. That's the Asher Anini Yoseh. But here's the thing. Now, this was revealed one time already by Har Sinai. Very quick. But this dira is going to be primarily revealed, the Rebbe says, in the Jewish people, in the Jewish bodies. And from the Jewish bodies, it's going to be revealed in the rest of the world as well. It's a very interesting ha'ara in Ha'ara 50, where the Rebbe differentiates how this is different in the Jewish people versus the rest of the world. And that's why it's like two levels. From it being revealed by Yid, meaning the very essence of God, which means the home of God in this world. And how is the Rebbe learning home? The Rebbe is learning home. It's not that God is going to move into the world. That's not what we're talking about, a home. When we say that the world is going to be a home for God, means uncovering that the world was always a home for God, because the physical world. In what sense the physical world? Because physicality is, as we said before, cannot be the way it is, cannot be physical without, if not for it emanating, if not it being God's home, which means Hashem's true self being expressed in it. If God's true self would not be expressed in it, then physicality would not be able to be physicality. The fact that it is physical is because God's essence is expressed in it. But again, in the beginning, it's because it's concealing, the most concealing, but in the end, it's the most revealing. When we redefine this camouflage, when we redefine this bruteness of the physical, and what that means in our daily life means that our absoluteness of existence is no more a challenge to God's will, like it is now. I'm lazy, I don't want to do this, where there is conflict between our material, sluggish heaviness of our bodies and the divine will, or when it will be the opposite. The nature of our I and of our absoluteness of the material and that forcefulness of existence, that our body is going to be God's. And therefore, it's with that absoluteness and with that certainty and with that bruteness of beingness is that every mitzvah is going to be demanded. Like with such a mitzius, with such a sense of this is the way it is. Obviously naturally and fully comfortably. No conflict at all. Because the physical is nothing more than the expression. But the Rebbe explains the difference between a Jew and the rest of the world. It's a deep idea which I don't want to go into right now because we spent a lot of time just explaining the idea of Ma'atzmusai, which I want to still connect it to the Chidush in Torah, but give me one moment. The difference that he explains is that when it comes to Jews, since the Jewish soul is rooted in the essence of God, a Jew is a chelek elokayim, it's a piece of God from above. Therefore, when his body as well, the Jew, the soul, the body as well, and not just the body as well, but precisely the body, and it has to do with the idea that God chose the Jewish body to be the seat for the Jewish soul. The Jewish body itself will one day be redefined as nothing, as being what? Being God's very essence. That's what it is. Yeah. The body itself. Because once the Yesh HaGashmi, once the physical body is the Yesh HaMiti, is the true Yesh, which is God, the body is nothing, is Atzmus Mamish. The body and with the Neshama. When it comes, however, to the rest of the material in the physical world, everything in the material world, besides Jewish bodies, even those materials that we did a mitzvah with, and therefore removed all the klipa from it and allowed it to be reconnected. It's not that the physical existence is the essence of God, but rather that the physical existence could not exist without the input of the essence of Hashem. So what is really there? Not the physical, but the essence of God. That's the way it is in the rest of the world. So in the rest of reality, it's that there is nothing really there other than the essence of God. So what is it truly? It truly is nothing other than God. But in the Jewish body, we don't have to make those two steps. The body is the essence of the Eibishter. And the Rebbe says an amazing thing, and that's the reason why, and that's the ultimate revelation of God in this world. The ultimate dira b'tachtonim, a home of God in this world, is the way God expresses himself in the Jewish body. According to that, there is a difference between the mitzvah that we do in the Jewish body itself and mitzvahs that we do with other materials of the world. And we find that the mitzvah that we do with the Jewish body and in the body itself makes the body a greater container, a greater expresser of the Eibishter, the ultimate revelation of divinity in this world, more than a mitzvah that we do, let's say, with a parchment and make it into a Torah even, or a mezuzah. In what sense? When Avram Avinu needed to take an oath, he didn't really have, it says, anything holy. And you usually, when you make an oath, you hold on to something holy. So Avram Avinu told Eliezer that when he's going to make an oath, he should make the oath with Avram's bris milah, which obviously is not the most tznius, most modest thing to do. Okay, it's getting a little generally we would say it's a little off, right? If we're not knowing that Avram Avinu was such a tzaddik, we would say this is, right, something wrong. And we know that Avram Avinu, especially in matters of tznius and holiness, he didn't even know what Sarah looked like, right? That's what we say. She was the most beautiful woman. After Chava, she was the most beautiful woman, and Avram had no, his mind was just in God. So how is Avram doing something like this? Obviously, it is pure holiness. The Rebbe himself mentions this idea that it's not a habit. Why did he do it? Because he had no other choice. Why not? Because now the Rebbe says, because you need something holy. Before Matan Torah, there was no chayfet shel mitzvah, there's no object of holiness. The question is, you could use karbanis. The word karbanis, you can make a use with a karban. He says no, because the level of holiness of when you do a mitzvah in a Jewish body far surpasses. Because the Jewish body, literally, the moment you do a mitzvah with it, it is now what the Jewish body really is. Nothing other than the atzmus mahus mamish. It's the essence of the divine mamish. And it's stuff, it's a substance. Yeah. God is not in any shape, form, or definition. And he can be anything, and he is the Jewish body. Obviously, the way this is only going to be revealed then, in the days of Mashiach. I mean, it sounds like very weird. It sounds very but it says that when Mashiach will come, the angels will bow down to the Jewish people and say, Kadesh, 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 Hashem Tzavakos, to the body. It's not, he couldn't do it with a karban, because in a karban it's not so deep. In the karban, it would mean as follows: when you do a mitzvah with the karban, you remove the klipa. So now the facade that something other exists isn't there. So what really is over here is the only thing that exists is God, and without God's existence, it can't exist. But there is an it. It can't exist without God. But God is creating something that's not Him. Not so in the Jewish body. It just is Him. That's the so again. But let's go. Let's not. We got a little bit into one particular. Let's zoom back out. This dimension, that physical, in general, this is regarding the entire physical world. It's just there's a nuanced difference, which is huge between the two, but that the physical world will be perceived, and God's essence will be experienced in and within the physical world, and that's Asher Ani Oisei. We will see the Ani Oisei, and that's the ultimate revelation. And that's going to come as a result of what? Of Torah Chadasha Me'iti Teitze. When God is going to extrapolate from Torah, the essence of Torah, that there's nothing to be hidden in Torah anymore, it's going to show up in the world. And the Rebbe says in Sivav, this is the idea that I really wanted to say before Shavuos. He says that's the difference between the Torah we received 3,333 years ago and the Torah we're going to read this year, 3,333 years later, when we're Be'ezus Hashem going to experience Torah Chadasha, the new Torah. Torah of Mashiach. And that is as follows. Since when the Eibishter gave Torah at Har Sinai, most of the Torah was bottled up and concealed, and only a little bit of Torah was revealed then. In other words, he gave us the entire thing, but it was, as we spoke last week, it was a zip drive. And what was unzipped and revealed, and the files that were extrapolated, was very little. The bulk of Torah was not revealed. That's why we know that the secrets of Torah was not even revealed to those generations. It started to be revealed later. Only to a selected few and a little bit. But when Mashiach will come, and what will God do then? As it says, Hashem will unravel all the mysteries and all the secrets of Torah. Wait, so then, Since in Torah only a little glimmer of the potential of Torah, the hidden of mysteries of Torah were revealed. So in creation as well, in the world itself, even though there was godly revelation, the main godliness, which is the power of the essence of God, which is, you can't even say it in one, almost like in one. It's like beyond the godliness of the Mamala Kalam and of the 10 Utterances, which is responsible for the shape and form and the chemistry of everything, for the details of creation. Yeah, that was revealed by Matan Torah. We know, by when the giving of the Torah, there was godliness everywhere. But the Rebbe says, and he says it on the bottom, interesting ha'ara, he says there's a very big question. Even if we say that God revealed himself beyond the 10 utterances and there were greater revelations at Har Sinai, and that's for sure happened, but the question is, did the koach ha'atzmos, the power of the essence that creates yesh me'ayin, something from that, was that revealed in the world? In other words, when they looked at the world and they saw divinity and everything, the Rebbe says it's a very big question. If when we say they saw divinity, did they only see the Mamala Kalam and light, the 10 utterances, or did they also see the essence of God that's responsible for the very substance? The Rebbe says very shayach, very possible they didn't see that, because that wasn't revealed. It wasn't revealed in Torah yet, and therefore it wasn't revealed in the world yet. But when Mashiach will come and Torah Chadasha Me'iti Teitze, new Torah will be revealed, which means the essence of the secrets of Torah, which means it's secrets that can't be revealed by people, it must take God to reveal. That's what's going to cause in creation as well, that the power of the essence, the bulk of godliness within creation, the essence of Hashem that's within creation, that's only going to be revealed. And that's where when Mashiach will come, the pasuk says, "V'nigla k'vod Hashem," the glory of God will be revealed. V'ro kol basar, we will see in the basar, in the flesh, kipi Hashem diber, that Hashem's mouth is speaking. We'll see that it's nothing other than the power of the Yesha Hamiti, the true being that's responsible for Gashmias, for the material physical world. And therefore, a very important idea, he says, excuse me, that's why, I'm going to finish this in just 1 minute. By Matan Torah, even though godliness was revealed, and it says Hashem removed the barrier between the upper and the lower. Hashem bridged and removed the barrier between the upper realms and the lower realms. And the higher godly revelations were revealed in the material world down here. But the very notion that we still call the physical world low, and we say the upper came down to the physical, is a sign that the essence of Hashem that is responsible for the physical was not revealed. Because if the essence of God that is responsible for the physical, that makes the physical so coarse and so self-conscious, so to speak, and if this would have been revealed, then it wouldn't be low anymore. Once we look at the physical's bruteness and taking itself so seriously as really the conveyor of the deepest being of beings, then there's nothing low about it. Then quite on the contrary, there's nothing holier than it. So it's no more low. And that's only going to happen when the new heaven and the new earth is Asher Ani Oisei. Heaven won't have any superiority over earth. Earth is just as godly as heaven. Yeah. And to conclude, and I must say this, I'm sorry, I said it's going to be another minute, just one more idea. And the Rebbe says that could be, it's a chidush niflin. Ara 55 is one of these most mind-blowing ideas, a mind-blowing idea. The Rebbe says this is one of the reasons why when God introduced the Torah by Matan Torah, it says, I am God your God that took you out of Egypt. And everybody asks the question, why didn't he say a much greater thing, a much greater feat? I am God your God who created heaven and earth. That's a much greater thing. taking out of Egypt, he did a few miracles. He changed nature. But here he created nature from absolute nothing. It's a much greater chiddush. So usually the answer is that the power of God that was responsible in creation is a much lower power. It's only from the 10 utterances. God conceals. The power of creation was not an extra. Hashem wasn't flexing his muscles. He was the opposite. He was hiding himself. By Yetzias Mitzrayim, God revealed his infinite power. So that's why by Matan Torah we're saying a greater thing. And that's what the giving of the Torah is, from the godliness that's infinite. Here the Rebbe gives the total opposite answer. The Rebbe says the reason why it doesn't say I am God your God who by the giving of the Torah, I am God your God who created heaven and earth. Because on a much deeper level, the power of God that's responsible for creating heaven and earth on the deepest level, which no one realized until the Alter Rebbe reveals it in Tanya, which is the essence of God that's responsible for the creation of earth, that was not revealed by the giving of the Torah, as we mentioned earlier, because then Hashem didn't. That's only going to be revealed in the new Torah, that he's going to reveal when Mashiach comes, not in the Torah then. So therefore he didn't say it by Matan Torah, because the koyach of Atzmos that's in creation was not revealed. So Hashem did not say, because I am God, your God, because I am God means what he's revealing. And at that moment, he wasn't revealing the godliness of creation. Because the true godliness of creation, the Koyach HaAtzmos, that's only revealed later, when Mashiach will come. Where was it revealed? In this Sikha. Here's where the Rebbe is revealing it. Because this is the beginning of Torah Chadasha. Awesome. Everybody should have the greatest Shavuos ever. We should merit Torah Chadasha and all of its glory and all of its power. No more secrets. Everything revealed. Everything. Bare bones. That's what we're looking for. Bare bones. God's very, very essence revealed completely. Without any more obscuring. And let us celebrate with the two big breads, Shtei Alechem, and the third Beis HaMikdash. And this Shavuos, hearing Torah from Melech HaMashiach that is being channeled directly from the Eibishter himself. A good Yom Tiv and Kabbalah HaTorah, b'simchu b'pnimiyas to all.